It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. You know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the clip out.
Welcome to the Clip Out Podcast, episode 439. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. So this week is going to be different because we're recording this to play while we're on vacation. So we're not recording an episode while we're on vacation for the first time in 8 years?
8 years, yeah. I have decided to take a major step, and I'm not taking my computer with me at all, which is really scary. I have not taken a computer on vacation in a decade, at least.
Yeah.
So this is new territory to me.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking, but there should be no reason. We're not planning to record, and this will be in the can to drop while we're out. But we've recorded episodes in Puerto Rico, in Alaska, in Hawaii,
At Disney World.
at Disney World, multiple times at Disney World.
We have. So, and this is also going to be different because we are doing an Ask Me Anything episode. So we had people submit questions. We're not going to read names because we want to let people protect their anonymity. but we are going to be reading off questions. So I will start with the first one. I guess we could just go back and forth reading them, Tom, and then
Okay.
and when we
Get
have a
bored,
couple
we'll stop.
yeah, and there's a couple different places that we can read from, so I'm going to read from my list first.
Okay.
If I can find it. There it is. Okay. So, this person says, what are your top 5 in each of these categories? Movies, music, and TV shows. Let's just pick one because otherwise it'll be the whole episode of
Yeah,
just that.
5 is a lot to pick.
How about he said this person was a he, and he said you could also narrow it down to your top 3 if you want.
Okay.
Okay.
So my top 3, I guess, TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll have to say, I think number 1, I would probably put MASH.
Oh yeah, that makes
sense. Especially because I watched that so much as a kid, and I just loved it as a kid. I read all the books. There are 14 MASH novels, believe it or not. It's based on a novel, but then when the show got popular, they started creating more, and so they're not very good. The first one's fun, but they get pretty bad by the end. But so I think MASH was my first real pop culture rabbit hole. My parents bought me books about the show, and so that was my first one. And then other shows after that, man, that are my favorite. It's so hard to say. I will say, when we rewatched Barney Miller,
that was good.
I like that show a lot. There's one of those shows where I still I wonder what happened to those people after that. So Barney Miller's pretty solid. And I'm trying to think something newer that maybe a lot of people haven't seen. Not necessarily the greatest show of all time, but I thought was really good that I don't think gets a lot of love like it should, was Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Oh yeah, that was good.
I think Crazy Ex-Girlfriend was way smarter than I thought it was going to be, and really funny, and I just thought that show really worked. So,
all right, instead of having you do all 3 over and over again, I'm going to jump in. Otherwise, I'll get bored. And we'll have
for sure. I could tell you're already bored.
Well, I know these things about you.
With me, yeah.
Not with you. Okay, so I feel like TV shows for me that are my favorites are kind of based a little bit on nostalgia.
Mhm.
But I think currently my favorite show is the remake of 4 Seasons. That show is so good. And then I will say the next show after that is like so freaking good is the medical drama that we watched last year. The Pit. So good. But in my top 3, I also have to round out with Gilmore Girls because that has always been a favorite of mine. It's so good. I've watched the whole thing. And it gets bad and then it gets good again. And it was a really nice watch with Sydney. It was like very nostalgic for me.
It's funny, speaking of nostalgia, a show that I loved at the time and we are currently rewatching, and it's just an absolute slog, is Moonlighting.
Yeah.
And it pains me to say that. I love that show so much when it was on. And like, boy, they just really lose the thread. And
I
like,
do.
we have like 4 episodes left and it just feels like a battle.
Oh, and it's Sunday. Are we going to get to watch it today?
I don't know, maybe
no.
depends on how quickly I get out of work.
All right. Do you want to name off your top 3? I know one of them.
For
Actually,
music,
yeah, for music.
man, it's so hard to pick music, but obviously number 1 for me, a shock to no one that is a regular listener, is of course the Monkees. It's the band I've seen the most, that I've traveled the most for, that I've, and it's a lot to see that band the most because it's not a band that goes out on tour once a year, every year. But I mean, I've probably seen them 15, 20 times. So for a band that went out that sporadically, that's a lot.
Very.
After that, I just keep landing on the band that I've probably seen the most after that would be Roger Clyne and the Peacemakers.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a household name. If you know them at all, you probably know them as the Refreshments. They had an alt rock hit in the mid 90s called Banditos. It's the Everybody Knows the World is Full of Stupid People song. They also did the theme for
King of the
King of the Hill.
Yeah.
King of the Hill. But there's no vocals in that. So, but yeah, I really love Roger Clyne and the Peacemakers. And then after that, I mean, I guess it's not creative, but I would have to say the Beatles, because that was also one of the first bands. The first album I ever owned was the Monkees' Greatest Hits. The first album I ever bought was Sgt. Pepper's. So,
yeah. So I had 2 out of 3. I figured the Monkees and I figured the Beatles because
Yeah.
that's what you play the most. For me, again, it kind of comes back to nostalgia. I have seen, believe it or not, besides with you, Aerosmith the most times in my life.
Okay.
And they have like a special place in my heart because the Get a Grip album came out when I was in high school, and my best friend at the time and we loved that album, especially the song Crazy, and we played it all the time. Like all the time. I know every single word. I know every single high note Steven Tyler hits. And we got to see him in concert multiple times on that tour and the next tour. But Aerosmith is probably my top. And then, but I don't really listen to them anymore. And it's really funny because I used to really love country music and now I don't. It's like I hear a guitar twang and it used to make me feel like home. And now I'm like, oh, that's terrible. And it's not because of the twang itself, it's what it represents. There's a certain mindset that I grew up with that I didn't know how dangerous it was. And now when I hear that certain twang, I hear that dangerous mindset more than I hear it. But I do have to say, George Strait, best country singer of all times. And I'm so glad we got to go see him when he retired.
That was a great show.
It was a great show. And then also I saw Travis Tritt was the very first concert I ever saw. I got yelled at by him because I kept wooing. I was a woo girl. It was the very first concert I ever been to. I was 13. Of course I'm gonna woo. But yeah, I got yelled at by Travis Tritt. So
it happens.
Yeah. I wouldn't say he's one of my favorites. I would say my other current favorite, it's tough, man. I have favorite songs, but I would say the person I listen to the most these days is Taylor Swift. Because she just has so many great songs across every album. I like songs on every album.
That makes sense. And I can vouch for how much you listen.
And I don't even know how to talk about movies. I'm not even try to answer that because I really don't have a favorite movie. I'm so picky about movies. It's
Yeah.
really, as you know.
Yeah. I think my favorite movie is Paper Moon.
Oh, of course.
I
Yeah,
love Paper Moon. I
it's
saw it
good.
when I was a little kid, 10, but it's set in the Depression, but it was filmed in the early 70s, 1972, and but it doesn't have any music in it. All the music that's in it is ambient noise of, like, if they're listening to the radio, then there's a song on the radio. So it's all period music. So, like, and it's shot in black and white. So, like, when I saw it at 10, like, I literally had no idea when this movie was from. It just happened to be on TV. I was sick and up and couldn't sleep, and so I turned the TV on, and for whatever reason, every time I went and got sick, that seemed to be the movie they were showing late at night, and so I kept seeing this movie, but I had no way of knowing what it was or what it was called. It was just this, this weird little movie about a con artist and his maybe daughter in the Depression, and I was just like, but I don't know what it is. And years later, when I was older, I was able to figure out what it was, and I love that movie so so much.
It holds up over time. I mean, I remember I was really skeptical when you had Brian and Sydney watch that movie with
Yeah, me
us because I
too.
had already seen it at that point and I liked it. But boy, they were in it. They were in it.
They were so pulled into it, and I remember the St. Louis Film Critics Association asked me to do a special presentation of that where I gave a little speech about it and they did a Q&A about it, and it was interesting, the people in the audience that were completely unfamiliar with the movie, which surprised me because this is a film festival. This
Right.
is directed by Peter Bogdanovich, who's a known director. It stars Ryan and Tatum O'Neal, who, people who are famous that you don't have to be a major film nerd to know who these people are. And so I was really surprised by how nobody seemed to really have been familiar with the movie going in, and they were just like, "Oh, let's see what this is." And I thought it was interesting how many people were like, "This movie has a much more modern sensibility than I would have thought," and I could see this being released as just like a little art house film today and really resonating with people. And I think that's 100% true.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Well,
Yeah.
let's get off my stuff
Okay.
and go into other, like, but there's probably more Peloton type
Okay.
stuff.
Well, you pick a question this time.
Okay. Who's been your favorite guest so far, and did anyone totally surprise you during an interview?
I Gosh, you know what? I think my favorite interview was Andrea Barber because she surprised me so much. I was such a fangirl, and we've interviewed some people that I was huge fans of, and I was really nervous. But I think that none of them made me feel as at ease as Andrea Barber did. Like, she didn't make me feel little. She made me feel like she was in on it with us. And I loved how much she loved Peloton. She's clearly a person who, like, whatever she's doing in her life, she does with all of her heart. And and of course, she was hilarious, and she thought you were funny, and of course, that's always cute because you are, and I love when other people get your humor the way I do.
Yeah, I was kind of in the zone that day.
You were.
Shit, yeah, I was killing it.
Who's your favorite?
I don't know. I was gonna say Andrea Barber
Oh,
because, and you stole it. You're
I'm
so
sorry.
mean.
We're in the room, so I couldn't have come up with that off the top of your head if I had to. Yeah.
But but yeah, she was just so delightful and so, like, easy to work with and gave us so much of her time and has a couple other occasions as well. So
Yeah.
that was super, super nice. I'm trying to think after that. Well, I have to say that, like, I always thought it was really great that Matt Wilpers agreed to be on our show when
Yeah.
we did not exist. He's literally our first guest,
Such a
and
special that was such a special moment, you know?
yeah,
That really
and we went about asking him to be on the show in completely the wrong way,
we didn't know, like, it
and we
wasn't on
didn't
purpose,
know,
we just didn't know.
and he was so new, he didn't know because he got his hand slapped by Peloton too, where they were like, "Oh, don't do that," and so but yeah, that he was so gracious to take the time out when, like I said, when we were literally like, "We were just starting this thing, would you be, on the show?" And that when we had absolutely no track record of any kind, he could have been signing up for God knows what, and that he took his time to do that, so And if you're looking for that episode, it's really easy to remember. It's episode 1 and
Yeah.
2. Did we break that
We
one up
did
over
break
2?
it up
Yeah.
into 2 because he had like a whole thing about his new clothing line that was coming out. It was the first time Peloton ever released bibs for riding a bike. That was brand
Gotcha.
new. And then also we had a whole episode about Power Zone training because he was brand new to the company, so nobody really understood what the hell it was yet.
Yeah.
And so we talked about both of those things. I will also say when we talked to Jen Sherman, I was definitely fangirling that day too.
Yes.
We had computer issues and she was very patient, but I loved hearing her stories about like when she first reached out to John Foley. That was the first time I had heard that story because it was so early on in
Yeah.
the podcast. And so that was the first time I had heard how she was just like, yeah, I'm going to go for this, and just reached out and emailed John Foley and was like, I need to be your employee. And that was really cool. As far as the people that make up the community, I tell you what, it is hard to pick one person. I mean, special interviews that come to mind are, Howie, because
Howie. Yeah.
he's Howie,
Yeah.
and but there's so many. The Fred and his wife, Mrs. Fred, Jonathan Bradlow. I mean, honestly, probably all of the people that we interviewed from the JSS tribe, Lisa Getty, Yaya, Christina Ribeiro, and Stephen Pitts. There were so many people that I saw on the leaderboard every day, especially in that first like 100 people that were just so special. Lori Besden comes to mind. What a
Yeah.
wonderful story. She's just so inspirational. Um, you know, she's tackled so much in her life. And every once in a while, I get a message from her and she will share, the magic of the interview that we did with her and how it's still resonating today with people.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any others from the community at large?
The other one I was thinking was when we got to interview John Foley
Oh,
at HRI.
that was so special.
When they asked us to come in and host the HRI thing, and we interviewed him live on stage, and he was so great to work with. And I thought it was great that they were so trying. We had that call beforehand.
Yeah.
They were so trying to micromanage what we did, and they were like, we had listeners submit questions, and then they pre-approved the questions, and they were like, do not deviate from the pre-approved questions. And John Foley stepped in and was like, no, absolutely not. Don't put limits on them. He's like, we asked the clip out to come in. We want the clip out to be the clip out. He's like, if Tom wants to give me shit, then Tom needs to give me shit. That's what the clip out is here for.
And that weekend, we got to do a tour of the Peloton facility and like the office building. And it
Yeah.
was so cool to see where everybody worked. I felt so incredibly special. And it was also the first time that like we had been to an HRI like after we had started the podcast, and a lot of people knew who we were. So when we went into the hotel, it was really cool because people would hear our voices
They would
and
hear your
recognize
voice.
us. Yeah, they would hear me laughing usually is what happened. and, and it was so cool to meet so many people from all over the world. There were people from so many countries there, and it was so cool to meet JV and just all the people in the company. And it was just such a special time, such a really special time. And when you would go to 23rd Street at the time, they let anybody in there and you could go and just hang out on the couch until the next class. And so many people I met, because I would just hang out. We'd hang out in the lobby, and then there would be like the classes would change and a new bunch of people would come in and you'd be talking to them, and then another class would start. And that's back when classes started every hour on the hour. So,
Right.
it was just so special. And like you'd see the instructor from across the room and they would recognize you. And you'd be like, huh? It was a love fest. It was a complete love fest. And
it really was.
it was really cool.
Yeah. So what do you got next?
Oh, sorry. I was just telling stories. Okay. So let's see here. This is funny. Do you think you're going to make it to episode 500 of the clip out? I don't know the answer to that. Okay. I will say it depends on the day, how I'm feeling. And I will also say that we did recently get a new
Advertiser.
um, advertiser. Yes, thank you. Sponsor for the show. And they did sign up for all of 2026. Now, that doesn't mean we're locked in, because if we wanted to cancel, we would just cancel early. It's like, it's not like money is exchanged up front.
Right.
We bill based on, the fact that we actually showed up and had listeners. So that doesn't mean that we'd have to stay, but it does indicate that there's still interest from a sponsor standpoint, which is important, and I don't, I like it when it feels like I'm still part of the community, but the community is so splintered now that it doesn't feel the same as it used to feel.
Yeah.
And that's just a really hard place to be.
Yeah, for sure. I will also say, as the show has matured, it also costs a lot more money.
Yeah. Boy,
And
that's true.
so, like, just that, like, just so it's like, if it's not generating revenue, then we're going out of pocket. And it used to be going out of pocket was a few $100. And like now, with where we're at and all the different moving parts, the web hosting and the newsletter and the, all the different
The
the
articles too.
articles. Yeah. Like it's, I mean, it is no longer just a few $100s, which is also why, why we push Patreon, because it's, we both have day jobs for a reason, like,
Yeah, yeah, and to be transparent, our Patreon and the money that we spend is real close to kind of evening out, like, it's
yeah.
real close to break even, and so to your point, like, if it were to swing one direction or the other, it's like, well, then it's probably not worth it anymore. And I mean, it's also, like, it's not as neat anymore, it used to feel like when whenever I saw people on the leaderboard, it was the same people over and over again, and I felt like I was part of that community, and now the leaderboard is so big and in so many places, the bike, the row, the tread.
Mhm.
I love that we have all that content, but it also means that, like, everybody's doing their own thing in different places, so it doesn't feel like the community gathers in the same way, and
Yeah.
I feel like I would probably feel more connected to the community if we did live on the East Coast and we could be involved in events that happen and, like, see people more often. But being in the middle of the country and, having to make it into this big trip every time we go, it's just different than it used to be, you know?
And if we're gonna move to the East Coast, we're gonna need a lot more people into Patreon.
Yeah, definitely. So there
So the next one I have is, how do you decide what to cover each episode? Do you go off what's trending in the community, or just what you find, just interests you personally that week?
it used to be that I would pick everything based on what interested me. That was before we had the tipsters. That was before we had a whole team of people helping gather the details. And whenever I first started doing this with you, Tom, it wasn't such a big deal because it was small.
Right.
As it's grown into this huge thing, there are instructors that I gravitate toward and there are instructors I don't gravitate toward. So I was missing chunks of the instructors that I
Yeah.
don't gravitate toward. So having the tipster community has been very helpful. So the way that it works is literally every day we have a whole group of people who are looking at social media. They would be looking at social media either way. But when they find something that's new to them, they drop it in a Slack channel. And in that Slack channel, then after a week, like right when I'm building the episode, I go through and I pull everything that looks interesting. Like I don't post every single thing. Like if Brittany Allen has a new drop, I don't put that in because she has a lot of new drops and she's not necessarily part of Peloton. And we're trying to keep the episode shorter and tighter. So it's not that I don't care about Brittany Allen, but I'm trying to like be mass appeal whenever we choose that.
Yeah.
And then once we do that, I would go through and I have this huge list And then I break it down into what I think should go in the bonus and what I think should go in the main. And then Tom, you go through and do it again.
Yeah, you pick all the things we'll talk about, and then I sort them into what I think is order of importance or by various topics, like, oh, this is an instructor story, this is a general Peloton story, and some of that's pretty obvious. And then now that we have a bonus episode, then I also will sometimes pull things, like if I think the show's running a little long, I'll pull it out and then move it to bonus. And the way that happens is Crystal will always say, just pull out whatever you think doesn't make sense and put it in bonus. And then when we record the bonus episode, she'll be like, why didn't you put this in the main episode? So
Well, sometimes it's like, there's like a reason I put it in there and it's an important one. To me, it feels important, like an instructor, I don't know, doing something specific. And like Ash Pryor this week got moved
and
to
the Pilates,
bonus.
yeah.
Yeah, she was moved to bonus, but the fact that she's going to be doing Pilates should have been on the main to me because that's big news. But like you didn't get it because you're not on the platform. And I didn't catch it until we were recording. It was like, whoops. Oops a doodle.
But yeah, so I think at the beginning, one there was a lot less news at the beginning, and there
Yeah.
were a lot fewer places that you had to keep an eye on.
And less instructors to keep an eye on.
Right. And so even if there was an instructor that wasn't necessarily your jam, like you could still keep an eye on it because there were only like 12, right? And so now to keep track of 58? Yeah. That's a lot
I think
harder.
we're down to 53 or something.
Okay.
But still,
Yeah. So like that's a lot harder for one person to keep track of all the places. So like that's one of the things that's super helpful about the tipsters and the helper bees, because they all have their own instructors that they prefer, and so they will snag things that maybe wouldn't pop up in your radar, especially now that we're established. You have a lot of people throwing things at you, and so that can be
yeah.
difficult.
And I still get that. People still, and I don't want people to stop until we stop the show. Then you can feel
Yeah.
stop. But like, I love that people send me stuff and they're like, did you know about this? Because sometimes things break. Like maybe the helper bees and the tipsters aren't online yet. That'll happen. It'll happen in the middle of the night, or it'll be something that like it was an instructor nobody was covering. It's not like we're like, okay, you cover these instructors and I'll cover these. And we tried that at the beginning. It didn't work. It was too structured. People just follow who they want to follow. And it kind of just works itself out over time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, coming up after this, we will have more questions. We will talk about any funny or behind the scenes stories that we might want to share. And Crystal has questions on her list that I can't see, so she will have those. So stick around. Okay, we are back, and I was going to reset, but I said, we don't reset. It's not a radio show. It's a podcast. You know what we're doing. We're on vacation. So this week we're just doing this, and the next week we'll be back to normal. So funny or behind the scenes stories that people haven't heard before or maybe haven't heard in a while. Do you have any?
The one that pops into my head is right off the bat is the one where it got to interview Snooki.
That's the exact same one I was thinking.
Okay. I've got a different one then. One. We were going to interview, what's the doctor? We talked to him about the peeing. So Just King's wife peed on.
It was that doctor. We talked to Dan Savage.
Dan Savage. Thank you. Sorry. He's not a doctor, but it was Dr. Light because he's giving advice. So anyway, Dan Savage, we were trying to communicate with Dan Savage, and
my God. The worst.
It turned into such a cluster because for whatever reason, we would email him and he would email us back and then it would go to spam. We've never had that happen before. And I don't know if it's because he has a radio show and it was coming from his radio show address or what.
What I think was happening, so it was when there was a story, not to rehash or embarrass people, but just King's wife is in a band and she did a thing where she urinated on someone on stage. And so we reached out to Dan Savage to talk about that. Dan Savage hosts a very famous podcast called Savage Love, but sex advice, and just about the idea of that as a fetish. Was this a bridge too far? Blah, blah, blah. And so I just totally emailed the generic like savage@savagelove.com or whatever their email address is. And to my surprise, not only did I get an answer, but I got an answer from Dan Savage, which I would have thought
He
this
had
guy's
people for that.
yeah, I would have thought this dude's got people for that. He's not actually monitoring this account. I mean, he has this successful article that he's been writing for, or advice column that he's been writing for, I mean, 25, 30 years, if not longer. And he's got a super successful podcast. He's on TV. He's a New York Times bestselling author. I'm like, he's got to have a crew of people, right? Sure enough, he answered me, but for whatever reason, it kept going to my spam. And I think the reason was at the time he was in Germany. And so I think it was because he was emailing from Germany that had flagged it as some weird foreign thing and kept sending it to my spam, even though I was replying to it. I was marking it as not spam. It happened over and over again. And then he had agreed to come on and record, but I never got it. And I happened to check my spam and I see the reply. And then I see another message from him that's like, hey, I'm at my computer. Are we doing this? And I'm at work. And so I was like,
Not just were you at work, I was at a doctor's appointment.
oh,
I
that's
was
right.
at the doctor. And you call me and you're like, you have to come home right now. We can interview Dan Savage in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like,
And I was like, I'm sorry, this went to my spam again. I'm at work. I can be home. Give me 20 minutes. And I hauled ass home. And luckily he was like the most patient, nicest guy in the world. Super chill about the whole thing. We were just apologizing profusely but he was super nice about it and totally understanding. It was a great conversation.
It
Yeah.
was. And I learned a lot about liquids that people
Yeah.
enjoy during sex.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
And it's funny because at
Warning.
first I think we also got to change his mind in a little bit because at
Little
first
bit.
he was like, this isn't a big deal.
Like,
And I was like, okay, but this was an all ages show and there were kids there.
and then he was like, oh.
And he was like, okay, yeah, like that's not a good look. Like, yeah.
It's
Like,
the
I was like,
outrageous show that
Yeah.
was really the issue. Like, it's two consenting adults, and lots of
What?
people said that, and I agree with that.
Yeah, like whatever.
Absolutely.
It's not my thing, but like whatever.
Yeah. But anyway, another behind the scenes time that comes to mind is Daniel McKenna. So,
Oh, yeah.
so several people had noticed when Daniel McKenna was fired, because he was fired. He did not quit. He was fired. That he was suddenly not showing up. Like, there would be a class and then it would be canceled last minute. And there was lots of talk. Like, I was getting messages like pretty constantly about it. And
Yeah.
then one night in the middle of the night, I got a message that showed me a screenshot. That was it. It was a screenshot from Peloton's internal Teams. So it's like Slack, but Teams, Microsoft Teams. And it showed, like, it was a log that said that, like, as a person leaves, there's clearly like a set of IT rules that are followed. One of those rules that they follow is to delete their username. The log that I got was simply removing him from the system, which would only occur if he no longer worked there.
Yeah, if you're not there.
So we broke that news and the world blew up. Like,
Oh my
I
word.
have
Yeah.
never been dragged like that before or since.
Yeah.
People were so mad at me for telling the truth. Like, they thought that I was lying. First of all, there was a camp that thought I was lying. There was a camp that thought I was telling the truth, but it was illegal. I got a lot of that. In fact,
Right.
there was a group of women in the UK that threatened to, like, they were going to take me to court over this
Yeah.
whole thing.
I will say in the UK, the libel laws are very different. And so like,
This is all in the US, so you're gonna
Yeah.
have to see it, ladies.
yeah, but like I think they thought that like you've libeled him and like you can't do that. And I'm like, well, but the best defense for libel is the truth. And
Right.
it
And
was,
it was the truth. And then things got really crazy because Peloton reached out. And I think this is the first time I've ever told this story.
I
but-
think so, yeah.
The first time I've ever told the story on air. I have definitely told individuals this.
Well, yeah.
But we were contacted by Peloton. They had a new communications person there at the time, and they were really upset. Like they had all of the facts in front of them, and they felt that Daniel McKenna was making it look like Peloton had done a lot of bad things, and this person knew for a fact that they didn't. And they had gotten emails from people in the community, and they took one of those emails and they asked me to send it out with Peloton's response. Like, they asked me to do that, and they did ask me to black it out. Now, I am not a computer genius. I was sitting in a movie theater when I did this. I messed up. Like, I only used a black highlighter to black it out. I didn't know you could reverse the image and see who it was. So this person then was told their email was used, which was never my intention to reveal their identity. And then that person got real mad. And that person, Peloton stood behind me and they talked to that person directly and they fixed all of that. That person was still very mad at me though. And I still had people telling me that I was wrong. Like, they did not believe the information. They thought I was making this up. And I was not allowed at the time to say, Peloton gave me this. I wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
I'm probably not allowed now, but that person doesn't work there anymore. None of the people involved in this work there anymore.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I will say this. Every single person that I have talked to at Peloton remains steadfast that Daniel McKenna was the one who did wrong. They have never come right out and said exactly what he did, but I think it was only second to Oliver Lee level of bad
Oof.
because they were so upset over
Yeah.
whatever it is that he did. And they did not take kindly to him trying to switch it up and make it all about Peloton and make it Peloton's fault.
Yeah. Real quick, the Snooki story.
Yeah.
So we had Snooki on, that's another one we were like, couldn't believe they said yes. And it was also another one that we had to record in the middle of the day because it's like, you're going to do that on Snooki's schedule.
Goddamn right you are. Snooki
Yeah.
says 2:15. We will be there at 2:15.
Yeah. And we were there and ready to go. And to this day, we do not understand what happened. It put her in one Zoom room and us in another. And we're sitting there trying to figure out what's going on. And we finally get like a message from her that's like, are you doing this or what?
No, it wasn't a message from her. I got a notification she had logged in to the room that I had started,
Yeah.
but it wasn't
Right.
the room we were in.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. So I take that link and like we'd relog in and she was mad.
She was not happy.
No,
Which I don't blame her.
I don't either.
We're this little dog and pony show, and she's doing us a favor. And then from her perception, we are not even on time. And so, like, if you go back and watch that interview, which we ran twice because we used it, I reused it the week you got hit by the car.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have an interview in the can. So, like, I recycled it that week. But at the beginning of that interview, she is very, like,
Quiet.
with us.
Her
Like,
answers.
by the end, I feel like she came around, but at the beginning, she was very much like, you two are a waste of my effing time. And like,
I was
yeah.
so flustered after that.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even hit record correctly. I was so upset. We ended up being able to use it because we have, thank God, redundancies.
Yeah, we have
Right.
like 3 redundancies because we have had to re-record things. And so like when we switched rooms, you didn't hit record on the new room, but luckily because the audio on that episode also isn't the greatest, and that's because we're using one of our redundancies because like there ain't no way she was going to come back and do it a second time.
No.
And I don't blame her. So like, yeah, that was
Yeah,
woof.
it almost didn't happen. It almost
Yeah.
didn't happen. But I am a huge fan of Snooki and her. I think she's really funny. I love her on Jersey Shore. And I also really like that she's into Peloton. She just posted a picture this week of
Yeah.
her like getting back into working out, and she had a Peloton tread right in front of her that I could see. So yeah, maybe she'd come back.
She's like, you get one.
Yeah,
You
you got
get one.
one. You got
Yeah.
one. Don't get greedy.
So, although, well, I with JWoww, I think we know has a Peloton,
She
and
does. We have
and
not been successful with that,
we have
and
not,
tried
Vinny,
Vinny
and Vinny has a Peloton and a Tonal.
and a Tonal, and
Yeah.
he turned us down hard.
Yeah.
Like, I remember that one came back quick, and I was like,
Yeah. At least we got an answer. A lot of them
That's
don't even answer.
true. That's true. A lot of celebrity people are always like, "You should interview this person," and I just wanna say, I wish it were that easy. Like,
Yeah.
it
We're flattered that you think we could just make a phone call
we don't have
and
that
get
juice. We
Al
just
Roker or whatever,
yeah.
but
I
yeah.
wish. Yeah, very rarely do these things work out, but it's a pleasure when they do. It it's very special, but very
Yeah.
rare.
Okay, what do you got next?
Okay. So, how do you keep engaged with Peloton, which was your catalyst, and then balance it with your personal training education and the need for more directed and purposeful training versus just doing a cycle slash workout and logging out? I think this is such a great question because it's somebody who clearly actually listens to what we say, not just listens for like us being silly, but also like listens to my journey as a
Yeah.
human being with Peloton. They've listened for a long time, very clearly.
Yeah.
It is a very difficult balance because I don't feel like Peloton does a great job of helping you level up to the next level. There, yes, power zone training absolutely will make you stronger and better on the bike, but what do you do with it once you're there? And you would pretty much, your option is to do a race. And bike racing is just not going to be for me, probably ever, because I got hit by a car and going out on roads is terrifying to me now. I can
Yeah.
handle the running, but I can't handle the biking. So, part of the way that I balance that honestly is with tonal because tonal allows me to progress with strength. And then I use Peloton to progress what I need with running. Usually it's training for some kind of race that I'm doing. I use what they have, but I use it for me. So, for example, whenever I first started getting into sprint interval training, they had nothing on the platform that was even remotely close to it. So, what I would do is I'd take an endurance run and I would do my own intervals, or I would do an endurance bike ride and I would do my own intervals. And that works really well for me because you can just have a timer on your phone. There's actually apps out there people have told me about where you can use them and they will set the intervals for you and remind you. That works great. And I also have really found that I really enjoy running outdoors. That is like it, I feel good being outside. I never realized how much I enjoy running outside until I didn't run outside. And then it kind of drove me freaking crazy. And so I think those two things, but I always feel like there's people who want to do more with their workouts and they have no idea what to do. And I would love to educate them. Like, not in a way that's like, give me money way, but like in a way that like helps people know how to get to the next level because working out is great. Like if quote unquote all you're doing is just working out to live longer and stay alive, great. Like that's awesome. I'm so glad you're moving.
Valid.
Yeah, that is fantastic. But if you ever want to take it to like, I like this, but I want to get stronger, or I like this, but I want to get faster, or I like this, but I want to do more, that's where you need some help, in my opinion. And I love working with people on that. Like, that is something I miss from my job at MetPro. And I really enjoyed helping people with that. That's a really cool part of what I've learned. So,
Awesome. Well, coming up after this, we're going to take another quick break, and then we're going to do some quick hits before we wrap up, or as quick as we hit things. We all know neither of us are very quick when it comes to speed or talking. So stick around. Okay, we are back. So I guess let's start with, if you could ride with any instructor, past or present, who would it be and why?
ride with it. Does it have to be ride?
Not necessarily. I will amend their question to just be take a class with.
Okay. Honestly, I would take any class with Mariana Fernandez. The woman is so sincere when you take a class with her, and she includes every single person, even when I don't like them. And she is like, she's so good to people in her class. And it's sincere. The sincerity there is so, it's inspiring. Like, there, she just is special. She's a special person. And if it weren't Mariana, then I would probably say Susie Chan because I just love Susie Chan. She's so funny. Yeah, that's probably one. There's
Okay.
others. I could keep going, but I'll stop.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they said one, and you said two,
I know.
so you're already not following the rules. So,
I know.
uh,
I know.
what's one Peloton feature, class type, or community group that you think doesn't get enough love?
I would say probably the positive Peloton page, just
Mhm.
because they started because it's so toxic over on the OPP.
Yeah.
And they're not the most knowledgeable about Peloton group that I've ever like. There's some groups that like they know everything. They know the history. They know every single detail about every instructor. And this group has some of that. But what I think their magic is that it's more like the OPP was back in the day, where they'll ask a question that most people already know the answer to, but they don't get jumped all over.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And we try to keep the clip out group that way.
We do. I will
uh,
kick people out when they get real shitty.
Yeah, there's been lots of people you've kicked out or blocked because they just got so douchey. So
Do you have one that you think doesn't get? You look so caught off guard.
the clip out group doesn't get
Wait.
enough love. That's the one.
Okay. Okay.
Has hosting the podcast changed the way you approach your workouts or fitness?
Oh, yeah. Peloton has literally changed my life. Like, as much as they sometimes get on my nerves or do things that I don't agree with, they should run the company according to me. I'm joking. The thing is that it was a catalyst that literally started everything changing in my life. Like, I have never stuck with exercise on a regular basis before Peloton. And it literally removes every barrier that I personally had because I could work out at home. And I was engaged and I had fun doing it and I felt good. So that's the first thing. But then that led to Tonal, and that led to me getting my personal trainer certificate. And that led to me learning about MetPro. That led to me learning about nutrition. That led to me learning about perimenopause and menopause and Stacy Sims. And that led to me learning how to lift heavy and why our bodies change and what it's doing. That's in every aspect of our life has changed because of this podcast. Every single aspect. And in a positive way. In a
Yeah,
positive way.
for sure. So
What about you?
what's that?
Well, what has being the host changed your fitness or nutrition routine, Tom?
Nah. No, yeah, I mean, obviously, like I am, even though I still have never used Peloton, if it wasn't for Peloton, I would not have a tonal. We would, tonal, they were kind enough to give us that tonal for promotional purposes. And I think that was worth their while. I feel like we sold quite a few tonals. But, I started futzing around with that thing and I still use it to this day. My strength score just hit 1200, which is it was like 400 when I started. So, and then when MetPro came on board as a client and I was like, well, and they wanted to have me eat on their plan. And even though you don't work at MetPro anymore, I'm not technically a client, I'm still eating in that manner. And this is the longest I've been below 200 in my adult life. And so again, even though it's odd to say, even though I've never used Peloton, were it not for Peloton, I wouldn't have done all the other things. So there's that.
And I will never forget when you told Dr. Jen that you would teach me a secret. Oh my God, that was so amazing.
She was flabbergasted.
She
Yeah.
was. And we wouldn't have met Dr. Jen. We wouldn't have
Yeah.
met Dr. Jen. And like, I consider her a real, genuine close friend, and I share news with her and vice versa. And there's so many people I could point to like that, like Christina Sandifer and
Yeah.
Nikki, the entire tipster group, the entire Helper Bee community. Like I wouldn't have gotten to have any of those friendships had it not been for Peloton.
You know, it's funny on Real Spoilers this week, we had a guy on from a podcast. His name's Patrick, and he was talking about the clip out or the Real Spoilers inadvertently helped him meet Drew Barrymore.
I
told
remember this
He
story.
told a story on the episode about how he's like a huge Drew Barrymore fan. He had a chance to meet her and he kind of chickened out, and he told the story, and then it kind of circulated in the Drew Barrymore camp. He ended up getting to meet her. And so we were talking about famous guests that we've had on the show. And I was rattling off, Snooki, Chris Hansen, Andrea Barber, Jodie Sweetin. And it was like, I totally forgot Dr. Jen because we talked to her so much in real life that like I stopped thinking of her as famous.
Yep.
And I was like, oh wait, I need to say Dr. Jen in case there's any clip out listeners checking out this episode and they're like, wow, he didn't say Dr. Jen. Like, is something wrong? And it was because I don't even think of her in that way because we've talked so much to her that like it's like that part's completely gone, which is kind of neat.
It is.
Okay, so last question.
Okay, last
and
one.
we'll wrap up.
Okay.
What is the best part of doing the clip out? What is the worst part of doing the clip out?
The best part is all the stuff we just covered. Like,
Yeah.
there are things I never thought I would get to do. Like when we went to Catalina and I ate a scorpion, that was terrible. But the rest of that trip was so cool. That was
Yeah.
so fun. And that all happened because of the clip out.
Right.
That never would have occurred. We have gotten chances to try things like mattresses and drinks and stuff. I know people probably are like, yeah, you're just, spouting
Chilling.
sales stuff. But like, I still use so many things that we have talked about on the show to this day. And I use them every single day.
Things that no longer advertise,
Yeah.
pros, athletic greens.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of things that they're not advertisers anymore, but I'm still using MetPro, even though I'm not technically using MetPro. I'm still using the tools they gave me, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. So being exposed to things that in our very like tiny world here in the middle of the United States, which we just don't get exposed to a lot of things, that
Except COVID.
that has been amazing. The worst part about it is that at some point it did take over. And like part of the reason that I took the job at MetPro was so I could work from home. And part of that was because COVID was happening. But also part of that was because we were getting interviews like Snooki, and I couldn't have a real job where it was 8 to 5 in an office because I had a chance to interview Snooki and I couldn't leave. And the job I had before that was like super buttoned up. Like it was 8 to 5 on the dot. You had to be in your chair. And that whole thing like was really cool that it was taking over, but it also took over. And I think it says a lot when I haven't taken a vacation without my computer in 8 years. I think it says a lot when we haven't not recorded an episode. And I know lots of people tell us, like, just don't record the episode. I know you guys as listeners wouldn't be upset. I know that. And I appreciate you so much. We both appreciate you so much. But the thing is when you do have advertisers, they expect it. And there's this stupid thing called an algorithm. And if you don't post, like it slows things down and that can really hurt.
You got to feed the beast.
You have to constantly feed the beast. It's that constantly feeding the beast and feeling like I have to, that sucks. Like when I started this, it was just so fun and exciting. And there have been so many of those fun and exciting moments, but there are also moments where it's like, I don't feel like it. I'm having a bad day. I have cramps. I feel fat. I didn't put any makeup on. I stopped with the makeup. I just don't even care anymore. But like there are days that like I don't want to, and I still have to, because I want it to exist. I want this.
You might not want to record in that moment, but you want to still do it in the big picture. So you have to power through in that moment because you can't just be like, well, it'll be 3 days late this week. That's just not the way it works.
If you do that, if you let yourself go down that road, and you taught me this, you will just stop doing it. And we would have stopped doing it if I had taken that attitude toward it in the beginning, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have your favorite and least favorite things?
I think the best part is that it's something that you and I created together that, like it's a second marriage for both of us. Both met later in life, so we didn't get to produce things together like normal married couples, like children. And so this, in a way, is our child, right? And it's a perfect blending of our two personalities, right? Because you would have never done a podcast on your own, and I would have never talked about fitness on my own. And so it is a perfect marriage, both literally and figuratively, of us, right? Like it's like, and I don't think it would have ever gotten to the level it did without you, because it's your organizational skills that keep it on track and do all the social media management. And I'm more like big picture, and then I sit down once a week and make dick jokes. And so, but you're doing the heavy lifting. I've never made any secret about that. And so yeah, I really think the best part of it is that it is uniquely us.
Very nicely said. You're so
Thank you.
sweet.
I
You're
have
so
my
sweet.
moments.
You do.
Well, I'm sure we'll edit all this out in post.
Make me tear up a little. What's your least favorite?
When people steal our shit.
Oh God. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
When people steal our shit and pretend like we don't exist, like that is, I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
Yeah. So anyway, if you've sat through this entire episode, hopefully we didn't bore you. I know it's not what we typically do, but we figured after 8 years we deserved a vacation. And so that's where we are right now, on a cruise ship, probably a little drunk.
Yeah, we stayed that way for a whole week. It's great.
Yeah, in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Because we almost never drink.
Never. It's like never.
At home. Yeah, like for real. Like you made a face.
Bottle of rum in the fridge for like 2 years. Like,
I think longer than that. I think I bought it during COVID.
You did. It was when Brian brought Kylie over for Christmas.
Yeah.
I think it's 5 years.
4 years old. Like rarely drank. But when I do, it's on. I always say I have two settings, Billy Graham or Billy Carter. Now you have to be over 50 to get that. But if you are over 50, that's a really funny joke. But also, I benefit from the fact that I am a happy drunk.
You are. Oh, but when you tell somebody off when you're drunk, there are no holds barred. None.
Who did I tell off when I was drunk? I don't remember that.
You say jokes, but they are like super cutting. Like they're like, you get a little like, you don't hold back as much when you're drunk.
Oh, we're still okay though, right?
We're still just fine.
Okay. Phew.
You've never said anything to me at all in a bad way.
Oh, that's good.
Fun. I've only had fun.
Yeah. Because I'm also a dirty drunk.
All right.
On that note, we'll save that for the bonus.
Yeah.
You want to hear the raunchy stuff? It's over there. Yes, $5 a month.
We're not going to have a bonus this week, though.
Yeah, but I think we've already told them that. But yeah, there's no bonus this week because we are in international waters. So anyway, until next time, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/CrystalDO'Keefe. They can find me on Threads and Blue Sky and Instagram and the Peloton leaderboard at Clip Out Crystal.
And you can find me on Threads and Blue Sky at Tom O'Keefe Jr. or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. Of course, find the show online in all the places and then of course, don't forget our Patreon, patreon.com/theclipout, $5 a month, all sorts of bonus content, ad-free episodes. What else? Early episodes. And it helps fund things like this fancy like NFL sideline headphones. This was like $400.
And we take it everywhere. We've taken it on every trip we've done except this.
Yeah. And we have 2 of them. So like that, those are the things that I think a lot of people don't even think about, that like this shit ain't true. So anyway, if you have the means, that's great. And if not, we're just glad you listen. Yeah.
So you listening.
But it's not funding our vacations. It's funding.
No, do not fund our vacations.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep pedaling
and running
and rowing and cruising.
Clip in.